Hi, it's Toby from Heavyweight MMA. Today with a man from Scotland, home of the brave. Can he take our freedom and all that? Professional Muay Thai fighter, George Mann from Riddlers Gym. Training with the great man, Darren the Riddler Reece. How are you, bro?
Yeah, very well. Thanks for having me. Not a bad Scottish accent. Not perfect, but I'll give you it. I'll give you it. So yeah, listen, thanks for having me. Pleasure being on the show.
Thanks, man. Hey, funny thing this week, actually a friend of mine just posted a clip on one of the chat groups I'm in. And just after I booked an interview with you, he posted the one with your big hematoma on the head with fighting Smoking Joe Nanawat, man.
Yeah.
How was that as an injury, man? Because I've never actually experienced that before, having that something blow up like that.
Yeah, well, I don't think many people have experienced it, to be honest. I'm one of the lucky ones. So yeah, listen, it was an interesting experience. The injury itself was totally fine. Touch wood, I'm still young. I didn't really have any kind of knock-on effect or anything like that. It's been a couple of years now, but yeah, essentially it was just real bad excess swelling that obviously got bigger and bigger and bigger. But yeah, it was a great shot that he caught me with. In the moment of time, it was very hard to see. So credit to him. He landed the shot, and I think without that, I would have won the fight.
Yeah, you're doing really well, man. Hey, on the side, is it fluid or is it like soft or it's a hard sort of swelling?
No, from memory, it was soft.
Mm.
It was soft, but as I say, it was just like a large bruise, that eventually basically started here, came down my face, came down my neck, and my neck went green and stuff like that, just like a bruise would. So yeah, as I say, very fortunate. It wasn't too bad, and we're still fighting on.
Yeah, man, but it was a great fight anyway against the gun tie. So you must have been happy with it, except for that thing and the loss, right? But it was a good fight.
Yeah, listen, it was a great fight, great experience. My first time I won championship. He had multiple on there, so he already kind of knew what to expect. Whereas for me, it was all very new. I think if I was to fight him in my second or third fight with one, it would definitely be a different experience and story. But you live and you learn, don't you?
That's it, man. And speaking on one, man, you mentioned in one of your interviews that it was a great experience. How did that compare to like other shows you've been on before?
Yeah, so the fight itself, to be honest, was the same. It doesn't really matter kind of who you're fighting. For me, it's the same. But the build up was very different. Obviously, flying into Singapore or Kuala Lumpur, wherever it was I was fighting, with the fan base there is obviously very large. The hype is very large. Different experience in terms of the build up, but the fight was the same. So as I say, just getting off the bus and seeing, photographers click, click, click with the cameras as you're walking off, it's like, wow, it's a lot to take in. But for me, I thrive on this stuff, and I was loving every moment of it.
Yeah, man, they're a good show, right? And it's good also like the way they mix it up a bit as well. Like it's not pure Thai boxing, it's not pure grappling, it's not pure MMA. They mix it up with all martial arts. So it's kind of appeals to a lot of people, I think.
Oh, definitely. They've grown leaps and bounds even since I was on there. They've got millions and billions of followers. Asia is obviously a very large place. So the fan base is ridiculously big. And they're only going to continue to grow.
Man, are you kind of drawn to Asia? You've spent some time in Thailand and you've obviously fought in a few places around Asia. What do you think of the place?
So I was just saying, yeah, Asia's a lovely place. People are so nice, friendly, happy. It's a different experience going there, but in the same sense, I've obviously been to the UK and multiple places in Europe as well. And no matter where I go, I just take it all in and enjoy the experience. But yeah, so many different places to see, and I'm all for it.
That's it, man. How's it been like being a Scottish man in Australia? I always find that the Scottish and the Australian get along pretty well. I think we can kind of take the piss a bit and, a bit of banter and stuff. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we love it as well, and as I say, I've been here about 6 years now. I'm very fortunate to now have a passport. Yeah, thank God for that. So yeah, listen, loved it. Best decision I ever made coming over here. Thanks to those that made it possible for me to be here today. Yeah, there's obviously a lot of people that have supported my journey, and as I say, without them, I wouldn't be here. So yeah, listen, love it. The Australians are lovely. As you say, the banter's good. I've got a lot of friends here. And yeah, I really think Australia's home for me now.
I had a good mate that was a Scottish guy, and I remember when it wasn't long in Australia, and I took him and his girlfriend down to the beach, and they'd never seen anything like it, bro. We walk in the water and they get smashed by waves and almost drown like straight up, just not used to it. You know, it was pretty funny.
Oh, honestly, it's a different world. It's like a different world, you know. But as I say, I love it. I love it. I'm so happy I'm here.
Yeah, man. Good. Man, you've your record that I heard what you mentioned, which was a little bit ago, was around 120 fights, give or take a few. Your pro record was around 34 wins and 7 losses. It might have changed since then. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'll be honest, my memory sucks. Yeah, I had a lot of like padded fights, just with shit pads and stuff.
Yeah,
I had a lot of them. My professional record is 38 wins and 7 losses now. I always write it on my phone so I don't forget, you know. So 38 wins. I think I'm on a 5 or 6 win streak now, which is maybe 7, which is brilliant, you know. I'll just enjoy it while I can. Someone will beat me eventually.
You mentioned about the padded fights. Was that like sort of coming up amateur sort of style thing, or was that just trying to compete internationally on those events where they have that sort of rule set?
Little bit of both. I had a lot of amateur fights as a kid, you know, and bear in mind, a lot of those times it's not really a fight, you know, like you're going in there and yes, you're fighting, but if I was to look back on it now, it's just like a heavy spar, you know. Well, you've got the head guard, the chest plate, the shin pads, etc. The older that I got, everything came off apart from the shin pads. So I had a lot of fights with just shin pads, but they were on large shows, large events. So a bit like Super Showdown and Yokkao and stuff like that. I fought on those events as the first or second fight on the card against an international opponent, but with just shin pads, you know. So still a very big stage, a lot of hype, a lot of weight on the shoulders. And I had that from a young age, but luckily I was able to excel and keep going, you know. And I think all of those fights moved into my pro career, and everything that I learned over that amateur journey really set in stone by the time the shin pads came off, you know.
Yeah, I actually rate it, man. Like sometimes people say they don't want to fight in padding and shin pads and everything. I think it's a perfect stepping stone to get to that pro level, right? If you really want to be careful of fighters and, you know, minimize injuries and just give a nice introduction to the game, or let people that don't even want to be turning pro just have a go. Like, I think it's perfect, especially for kids. Like, you want them to be padded up and just have that little bit of protection, right? And it just makes it that little bit safer, yeah?
Yeah, and like you say, for me, it helped take away a large part of the nerves. For me, like when I fight now, if anyone's ever seen me kind of chilling in the changing room, it's just another day. You know, it's just another fight, just another opponent, another show. And I just go in there and do what I do. As I say, win, lose, draw, it doesn't matter. I've had that many fights now where it's just, let's just go see what happens, you know? So all of those fights, amateur or pro, helped me get that mental mindset. And that's what carries me through and really helps me in every fight.
Yeah, man, it's interesting. You're an interesting case because like early on sort of Thai boxing, when the Westerners started to take it up, mostly starting when they're pretty old, like in their 20s and stuff, right? But now guys like you, the next evolution of Western Thai boxers, starting when you're kid, like starting when you're 7 and then kicking along and fighting more than 100 fights when you're still in your early 20s, you're pretty much aligned with some of the Thais, yeah? So it's kind of cool.
And honestly, the generation, well, I say generation, but let's just say the generation before me, man, they've got triple the experience I even have now. You know, some of those kids coming up are, you know, would kill me when I was a kid, you know. So even the generation after me is going to be a mean one, and there's going to be a lot of good fights. The whole sport of Muay Thai is only going to get better as the years go on, way past my time.
Thailand's going to be in some danger of not retaining the title of the best fighters, right? Because it's coming up everywhere, yeah?
Yeah, we hope so. We hope so. As I say, I'm very close to the UK, so I can comment on a lot of those fighters there, and they're strong. You know, they're strong, and as you said, they will start to challenge Thailand and France and stuff like that for that spot.
Yeah, man, it's kind of interesting, man. And would you say like the way they train now is like a whole different sort of, you know, like there's the different styles. You see it pretty obviously with the older generation of Thais and that. The younger ones, is it still the same? Like Thailand's still following on that traditional way, and then the Western style is training their kids in that in a different way, or not? Or are they just following the same?
So in terms of, let's just say Thailand for starters, right? They train the same way, but Thais have also evolved their training. All right. For example, look at one. All right. You've got Superlek, you've got Rodtang, you've got Nongo. Okay. All these Thais have always grown up with traditional Muay Thai. Okay. Now they're fighting on shows like One Championship, where the scoring is totally different. They're in MMA gloves. It's a different game. So they have to tailor their training to suit that. What they're doing, I'm not sure, but you can see it whenever they're fighting. They're hungry. They want the aggression, they want the bonuses. They want the extra money incentive, and they're working for it. So Thais have definitely changed their tune. The Thais that are still fighting in the stadiums and, that's their goal, I believe they're still training as they would. But those that are going for that, European, whether it's like Glory or One, they're changing their tune. I think in terms of the UK and even Europe and Australia, we've definitely got a lot smarter in our training. Now we've got chiropractors, we've got masseuses, we've got dietitians, So not just in terms of the Muay Thai aspect, the overall game, strength and conditioning is another one, we have severely and improved our game, and it's shown, So yeah, the sport's very, very different now to what it was when I first started. But I've been very fortunate to come along the journey and use those little things in my training, I'm sure it will only get better as the years go.
Yeah, all those little 1%ers add up to something at the end, right? Like when you're looking at your diet and nutrition as well, rest and recovery, all these things, man. And that's where I'm wondering, like, is that stuff happening in Thailand as well? It probably is, right? They get a bit of influence. I just wonder if they're taking that on or if they're still keeping with that traditional way of training.
I would say, if I was to, guess, obviously every gym is different. I would say that they're probably stuck to the traditional ways. They might have a couple of extra 1%ers, but not to the same extent. They wouldn't take, Thai way rest and recovery is lie in bed and go to sleep, whereas that's not quite what we're doing over here, because we have work and jobs and employment and stuff like that, So we might go to the sauna after training or go to the sauna on our day off or something like that. I don't think they're doing that in Thailand. But they still have their own 1%ers in their own way.
Man, you mentioned talking about these things. You mentioned about in one of our interviews about strength and conditioning, that when you first went over to Riddlers, you struggled because they were doing chins and all these chin ups and all these different things. Just wondering, have you taken that up? Like, have you worked on that as something to improve your strength and conditioning for like that way? Or? Yeah,
100%. Like, it was actually quite funny. I'll tell you a story. When I came to Riddlers and we were doing our strength and conditioning before our Muay Thai. It's just one of the things that we're doing. And I had just recently joined Riddlers, and a lot of the guys there are strong, not just in Muay Thai strength and conditioning, the fighters are really in tip-top condition. Fair play to every one of them,
Heaps of them too. You mentioned like there's around 40 plus people there that are good level fighters, right?
They've got a big team. We have a big team, I should say. But anyway, so the boys were doing pull-ups and, all the strength and condition. Man, I was dying. I was like with one of the kids, or I was with one of the, smaller females. So everyone was looking at me and they were I could see them kind of laughing and having a joke and stuff. And I said, boys, just you wait till the Muay Thai starts. I'll get you. And I did. I got them and they started laughing back, because it's all banter. And they were saying, bloody hell, you're the strongest, skinniest guy we'll ever meet, So, yeah, listen, years have gone by since then. I've really taken the strength and conditioning on board. I'm still far from perfect, but it's been a big improvement. Darren, the whole team at Riddlers, they've really helped me in that way. And I think you can see it. You can see it from when I joined Riddlers to now. The way that I'm fighting is a lot stronger. It's a lot more intent. So people might not see the hard yards in the training, but they're starting to see it come out in the ring, which is nice.
Cool, man. I see that. I see they have some some CrossFit going on over there, man. And the first rule of CrossFit is talk about CrossFit. That's what Darren said. So have you ever jumped in any of those classes?
Yeah. As I say, we do CrossFit, we do the strength and conditioning, we do it all. What Darren has kind of implemented in his fighters is that, you've got certain steps that you have to take if you want to be at the top. And every one of those 40 fighters do the same routine. It doesn't matter whether you're me or you've had 10 fights or you've had no fights, but you're working towards your first. Everyone does the same routine. CrossFit, strength and conditioning, Muay Thai, recovery. He's got a very, very well thought out program. And yes, the CrossFit is definitely amongst that. Being my big frame that I am, I'm not too good at the burpees, but we're getting there.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. I'm kind of skinny and tall too, and our builds aren't really made for a lot of those power sort of movements, like even chins and that. You can do them, but you can't do as many as some people, or push-ups even are quite difficult when you're a long, skinny frame, right? So it's not fair. Take it for a run, it's not too bad. Long runs is a bit easier, maybe.
Yeah, as I say, we'll stick to what we're good at.
That's it, man. Hey, speaking on Darren's gym, I like hearing you talk about that gym. And I don't know Darren too well, but I've followed him for a long time. I've done a couple of interviews with him, but he just seems like a really, really good guy. And the way you presented their gym sounded amazing. Like you're talking about how at the gym, everyone's equal, like there's no ego sort of thing. And I like that he asks you guys to, give back a little bit to the people that are learning there. Like you said, you mentioned about him saying like, after you finish training, try and give 10 minutes of your time to teach someone something. Like this is a really good ethos to have in a gym, right?
Yep. What Darren says to every one of us is iron sharpens iron. It doesn't matter whether you're the best of the best or you're not. Okay. As I said, everyone's equal. And when you say teach someone for 10 minutes, it might not even be a fighter. You might see a class going on, and the coaches are doing their own coaching. Darren might be coaching another class. And I'll see something, I'll go, hey, just do this, tweak this, try it during a class. I'm not even the coach, but the coaches, they love that. They want to see that, they want the fighters being involved, not just in the fight team, but as a whole community, because in Riddlers Gym, they've got so many members from BJJ to beginners Muay Thai to intermediate Muay Thai to fighters, so he's trying to create the environment where everyone's equal in the whole gym. Speak to everyone, speak to people because you want to speak to them. Don't make it a forced intent. Like I'll walk in the gym and I'll talk crap with most people there, almost everyone, and it's just a friendly environment. It's what you want to be a part of. But that obviously had to stem from somewhere. Darren and Kaylee and the team that started Riddlers Gym have got it to where it is now. And yeah, credit to them.
And that culture, you build that culture of teaching. It also is good just on that sort of that old martial arts style. The thing is you're teaching someone and then they're learning to teach other people, and it just spreads because you might be teaching your friends outside. You might be helping more people. It just spreads the art as well. And it spreads the, people's feeling to go and teach people, because that's what the gym's about, right? I really appreciate that. Eh?
And what you see happen, right, is someone that I might have been helping who's a little bit greener. It's now been 3-4 years, 4 years, 5 years maybe. They are now passing on things that I taught them years ago to others now, so it's that ripple effect. And it's great, because if one person improves, the rest of the team improve, and the bar continues to rise, Yeah, it's a great gym to be a part of. Definitely happy that I went there. I obviously went there with my own style, my own technique, my own thought processes. When I was training before, I was at a smaller gym, and I was the kind of main guy there. When I went to Riddlers, and I was kind of just pushed to the side almost. It was like, wow, it took me a second to kind of get used to it, but I'm really glad that I did, and I'm glad that I stuck by the gym 100%.
That's it, man. Hey, you mentioned before about the BJJ there as well. I see that pop up on their Insta sometimes. Have you ever tried any grappling or like ground grappling, ground fighting or BJJ before?
I haven't actually, no, but Luke Ainsworth is the coach there. He's very credible in what he does. Maybe one day. As I say, I've still got things that I want to achieve in Muay Thai. I'm still very young. I've got certain goals that I've set out to achieve. Once I've achieved them, I may still be young enough to go in that other direction. Never say never. To this day, I haven't, but it might be fun to get amongst it and try and show them if I can do it. Probably not, but we'll try.
I think you see people that grapple, they've come from a competitive sporting background, especially like a fight sport. They do really well because you've got that mindset for, competition, and that. It's a bit, I think you'll adapt to it pretty easy, and you got the long legs for triangles and stuff like that, man. So it's all good.
Like I say, I'm still young, so plenty of time, but it's definitely something that I'd consider down the line. And Riddlers, once again, have got a great setup there. Like they've got a strong BJJ team. So once again, it's going into an environment where we're all equal, and yeah, I'm sure they would love to beat me up for a while.
That's it. That's especially guys that have stood with you. They'd love to get you out of your world into the deep ocean of BJJ, man, and, on the mat.
You said that exactly. It's a different world. It's a different world.
Yeah, that's it, man. Hey, looking back to your history, like I mentioned, you started when you were 7, followed a friend to Thai boxing as a kid. What was the feeling when you started off? Did you suddenly just find like you were kind of addicted to it, or was it just a slow process of getting into it?
Yeah, so it was fun, right? What happened was one friend went and we both went together, and I spoke to another friend who said, hey, come, this is really fun, Another friend came, and once again, it was that ripple effect where we had, quite a good group of friends going. It was social, it was enjoyable, it was exciting, it was fun, you'd play games at the end of training, and yeah, it was addictive, it was addictive. And then I started fighting, and I lost my first fight, and that addictive feeling, I then got to rematch the same fella that beat me 6 months after, 12 months after, however long, and I was able to beat him, so to overcome that hurdle, and that's where it really began to say, okay, I really enjoy this. In my third fight, after I had rematched the first guy, the chap that I fought there, we ended up having 3 fights together. It was 2-1. I think it was 2-1. I can't remember now. Anyway, so just that process, that addictive feeling of fighting and winning and losing, but also enjoying it, having fun with my friends, because that's what it's about at that age. Even now, it's no different. And that's what kept me going.
Yeah, that's kind of cool, man. And just thinking about it as a kid starting up, what do you feel about the the impact of the head and CTA and all that for kids that are training?
Yeah, listen, it's a martial art. It teaches respect. It teaches discipline. Kids will not get hit to the head. Okay, it's very controlled. The adults, the coaches are always watching. There's certain rules. A kid can't hit above the head. It's only to the body, etc. The coaches are very well experienced, not just in Riddlers, but almost every other gym out there. So if you're a parent listening to this, or you're a kid wanting to start, do it. It's the best decision you'll ever make. And the head contact, etc., don't worry about it. It very, very rarely happens unless it's an accident. But it will teach you so much more in life. Do it.
Cool. And so when you eventually decided to do some stints in Thailand, was that just with traveling with the family and that you started to go over there?
Yeah, so I was going there on holiday and stuff and getting some training and etc. And we went to this show in Scotland, Super Showdown, that I mentioned earlier. And they were a massive show, and they flew in a bunch of Thais to, fight the likes of Liam Harrison, Damien Trainer, Michael Dix, who are all superstars in the Muay Thai scene. So the Thais that they flew over were also superstars. And funnily enough, my sister got a photo with one of the Thais, and they kept in contact. And fast forward however many years, he's now my brother-in-law, So that connection between my sister and him also bridged a bit of a path for me. And I continued to go to Thailand on my own over a couple of months, after a couple of months, after a couple of months. And yeah, it became the norm. It became the norm. And that was my way to get to Thailand. I lived in the gym just like anyone else. I soaked in the surroundings. but my parents could put me on the plane knowing that I would be looked after at the other end, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty good. That was a guy called Bao, did you say?
Yeah, Bao, yeah. So he's my
Yeah.
brother-in-law. I think he had 170 odd fights. He was the Channel 3 champion, I believe he was. And as I say, he taught me from when I was about 12 years old. So it was great to be under his wing.
Awesome. And you said that he'd built you up like pretty well, like he took care of you to make sure it was like a good progression, right? Like you started out in the small shows to TV shows, to stadium shows, to a WMC title and everything, right?
Yeah, so he almost followed the best possible path. The shows that he had me fighting on, it wasn't like your Bangla stadiums or anything like that. It was the shows where they're out in the middle of nowhere on like a farm that no one had ever heard about, where there's a bunch of killers fighting, where eventually they were fighting and then get a chance to fight in the stadiums. But by the time they've got to the stadiums, they've already had X amount of fights and they were ready, you know. So the guys that I was fighting were the next generation of stadium fighters, you know. And because it was a little bit low key, there was no pressure. You know, it didn't matter. You know, there wasn't cameras, there wasn't media, it was a fight, you know. Go in, win, lose, doesn't matter. Go in and fight. And then, yeah, you're right. He built me up over X amount of years and eventually won the WMC world title. Unfortunately, I didn't stay at that weight for long, so I wasn't able to defend it. But yeah, he gave me the perfect path, and that just shows you whether you live in Thailand or anywhere else in the world, it's very important to have a coach that cares, that understands that progression, and also understands that everyone's progression is different. You know, what's right for me might not be right for someone else, but it's about having a good coach that can tailor to your needs.
Yeah, man, sounds perfect. And at the sort of the height of that, you had 2 fights in Rajadamnern in Thailand. Sounds like an amazing experience, man. Can you talk on that experience, how it felt compared to the other shows you've been on, etc.?
For me, that was a dream. Even still, you know, I mentioned goals. That's one of my goals. I want to go back there. I want to fight there. You know, I'm a little bit too big now. Obviously, with the stadiums having certain capped weights, I'm a little bit too big, but we can still make it happen, and I want to return there. The 2 fights that I had were tough fights. I fought one chap from Iran who was probably one of the craziest guys I've fought to date. He was good, you know, like we were at the weigh-in, and I remember my Bao knocking on my door, right, George, let's go wake up. It was like 3 a.m. or something. Maybe even earlier. I had to put a sweatsuit on, go for my run, lose the weight, weigh in at 5, 6, 7, whatever it was for the practice weigh-in, and then the official weigh-in shortly afterwards. I weighed in at 63 kilo. And as you know, at the stadiums, you have to be bang on. Okay, you have to, 100 grams, you got to cut it. Okay. And bearing in mind, it's the morning of the fight. So you don't really want to be cutting weight, you know, that late. So you want to be on weight. 63 kilo I weighed, my opponent weighed 66 and a half.
Jesus.
And I was like, what the hell? He was a big boy. Okay, so anyway, so I sat there, I had a pack of Mentos. I was throwing the Mentos in the air and trying to catch them in my mouth, just watching him run around the stadium for ages. Eventually, my Bao said to me, he says, George, he said, he's been running for a while now. Like, if we let him, you know, continue to run, he's not going to be able to fight, and they'll pull the fight. So I said, all right, well, whatever, you know, you're the coach, do as you wish. He spoke to them and said, okay, that's done. We'll check your weight and we'll go with whatever you are. He was about 1.5 kilos over, and we just took the fight. So when I went in there, round 1, man, he was strong. I was just a boy, you know, he was strong. And he was throwing me around, to be honest, with ease. Like he had good Muay Thai technique, you know, he wasn't just a brawler. He's a Muay Thai fighter, but the power difference was just too much. Anyway, round 2, I don't know, I managed to cut him, and it was a peach. It was like right across his nose. Like it was a good one. And that kind of gave me a bit of confidence, and it made him a little bit desperate because it was a bad cut. Anyway, I ended up kind of running away with the fight and winning on points. But yeah, it was a great turnaround of events. The second fight that I had on one, I fought a Thai. We both weighed in just as you would, but I was a lot bigger than him in terms of size and height, and I think he just struggled to close the gap. So very fortunate to have 2 fights, 2 wins there, but I'm definitely eager to return. Definitely.
Is there any feelings that you would have liked to have fought in the original Lumpini Stadium? Does that have any feelings for you that you missed out to go to that legendary place?
Yeah, that's definitely somewhere that I wanted to fight, but I was very fortunate. I went there quite a few times as a kid and was able to soak in the whole atmosphere and experience. Lumpini is not the same now as to what it was. I think everyone knows that. But I was still able to enjoy the old Lumpini experience, just not as a fighter, you know? So, yep, would have been great, but it's okay, you know?
Yeah. And can you talk on the Thai culture at all, man? Like, how did you feel about Thailand and the Thai culture? Like, what are the differences between, I guess you were coming from Scotland to Thailand?
Yeah, so they've obviously got, a lot of different rules. Like we go there on holiday and we would be training in the morning session, and the kids would and they were kids, they would train, and then you would see them all disappear, and it's like, where's everyone gone? Like, you see them maybe 10 minutes later or whatever coming out in their school uniform, they've showered, and it's like, oh wow, man, they're going to school now. So and they would come up, they would bow to their teachers as they were coming to the training, and they would bow on the way out, like just like a respect thing. The respect is here. The culture, they've obviously got, their own rules. And yeah, it was a lot to soak in, especially for the fact that when I was with Bao, they didn't really speak English anywhere. In fact, they didn't speak English at all. It was only really me and Bao that spoke English, and my sister. So trying to adapt to those rules, it's like I might do something and everyone's like, can't do that. And I'm like, oh, so it takes time to get into the swing of things, but very different place.
Yeah, man. A lot of people love going there, right? It's an interesting clash of cultures from us, like heading to these different Asian countries, man. What other places have you traveled? You mentioned Singapore. Where else have you been?
Kuala Lumpur. I've mainly fought against a lot of like Europeans, like France, Portugal, etc., Netherlands. But I haven't been there. They came to me. I fought against a Canadian. But in terms of my actual travel, now that I think about it, I've not fought in that many different places. A lot of them have come to me, but yeah, as I say, I'm still young, so hopefully there's more travel to come.
And you're contracted to one currently, so you might get a chance to fight on some of their circuit or not?
Yeah, so my contract with them's expired. I think they had a two-year period on it. I'd have to double check, but yeah, on paper, no, but in the mindset and verbally, yes, I've still got like a verbal contractual agreement where if a fight comes up for me, they'll give it to me.
Yep.
When that will be, who knows? Who knows? But I've spoke to them numerous times. I've told them how I feel. They see what I'm doing on the circuit. They see everything that goes on. They've got eyes everywhere.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time.
And before you mentioned Liam Harrison, man, have you ever had a chance to train with Liam or his guys?
Yeah, I've trained with Liam quite a few times. He had a lot of seminars and stuff when I was growing up, and I attended lots of them. A lot of the things I use today in my game. I'm actually going back to the UK in a month or something. Not even, 2 weeks ago back. So I've already helped the boys and said I'll be in Leeds. I'll jump in and say hello. So yeah, definitely. I'll hopefully be seeing them all soon.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned him. Once I'm living in Macau, China. It's like a small group of islands in China, and one day someone said, "Oh, there's a Thai boxing show on tonight." I hadn't even heard about it until the day, which is strange because it's a really small place. And I heard about it. I said, "Come down." I got tickets, so went along, and Liam was fighting there. Liam was fighing Sanchai. It's like crazy.
Oh, wow.
Like Liam Sanchai.
I watched that one.
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere. Like these two of the best, and they weren't only the only ones there. There was a lot of guys there. Bovey was there. Can't remember the other people, but yeah, it was amazing.
Were you able to appreciate that as a Muay Thai fan, or were you just totally oblivious at that point?
I've been following, like I started as a kickboxer in the 90s, man. So I've been following, like back then there wasn't really Muay Thai, and where I was, we started to sort of adapt to it, and I fought Muay Thai as well. So yeah, I'm not any type of level. I've only been an amateur style fighter for my early sort of part of my training, but yeah, I've been training forever. So I can appreciate, I was super happy to see that they were here. It was a shock.
Brilliant. Sometimes people will go to shows and they'll watch these fights and they'll just have no idea what they're watching, So yeah, no, that's interesting.
And it was super tight too. I think it wasn't the first time they'd fought. So they knew each other's game, and they were like, it was a razor's edge between who wins, Yeah, it's crazy.
I think three times they fought, 3 times.
Yeah. Man, that sort of gets to the end of my basic questions, but I got 10 quick questions or 9 quick questions if you're okay, man.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, just give me short answers. They don't have to be too detailed. What I'm going to do is eventually take all these little questions and piece them together, because I ask most people these days these questions. First of all, you're, as a professional athlete, you usually have a good idea of training and your body and how you get yourself motivated. So what tips would you give people for motivating themselves to get to the gym or to get to training?
Surround yourself with others that have the same goal as you. If you're doing that, everyone will, as I said earlier, make you better, and iron sharpens iron.
True. I actually heard Darren say that before too.
Yeah, he does. He always says that, a good team will motivate you to do better.
That's it, man. What are your tips for like true health? True health doesn't necessarily just have to be the body. It can be the mind, can be everything. Any tips for people?
Balance. Having life outside of Muay Thai, having life outside of work. A lot of people don't have that balance, and they can often crumble. I've got a good balance, and I believe that's why I'm still enjoying Muay Thai to this day.
Awesome. Best street fight story?
Say that again?
Best street fight story? Do you have any street fight stories, man?
Oh yeah, I got a few. Mainly when I was a kid. I just arrived in Australia, and I just recently got with my partner, who I'm still with today, 6 years later. So this was probably 6 years ago. I was 18 years old, and we went out to a 21st birthday with all of our friends, and some of our friends were like, big, muscular, and like lads sort of thing, and they didn't know me. They didn't know me at all. I was just a young kid. They didn't know about my fighting. They didn't know anything. And there was this chap, kept bumping into us. I said, excuse me. I said, please don't bump into us. My girlfriend here, blah, blah, blah. She's a lot smaller than you. Anyway, bang, bang, bang. Anyway, I ended up throwing my own drink over me, bumping into me, tossed my drink. I said, Matt, I says, come on, it continued to really annoy us. Anyway, I shoved him. He shoved me back. And I reckon 30 seconds later, it was done and dusted. Every one of our friends at this event, the guy who was bumping wasn't part of our event. All of our friends looked at me and thought, what the hell has just happened there? I was quite a few years younger than them as well. And then obviously 6 years later, they're all my friends now. They come to watch me fight. And it's quite an interesting one.
Now they know why you're able to sort it out pretty quickly.
And maybe that's why they keep inviting me to go out. But yeah, that was the last time. Yeah, I'm not much of a street fighter, but that was 6 years ago was the last one.
Yeah, man. So what would you say would be the best street fighting technique then?
Oh, stay calm. What you find, and as I say, I'm not a street fighting expert, but you often find when two people off the street, they've had a bit too much to drink, they go crazy for 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, they're both blown out the backside. Just stay calm, let the other guy tire, and then see what happens.
Yeah. Sounds good. What's the true value of learning Muay Thai?
Respect, discipline, the things that it teaches you in life, not fighting. Okay, ignoring fighting, ignoring fists, knees, elbows, ignoring all that. The actual mental game is huge, and you can carry that through to every way, shape and form of life. Work, family, your kids. You can pass on these mental games to your kids to help them improve. It's massive, very hard to explain, but definitely what I would recommend.
Cool. Couple of silly questions to finish. Someone gives you an elephant, can't sell it or give it away. What do you do with it?
That's a great question. What would I do with it? So you can't sell it or give it away?
Yeah.
Man, I'd have to go in the garage, wouldn't it? No,
Squeeze it in there.
I might have to go to the pet shop and try and get some elephant food. But yeah, that's an interesting. I like that one. I like that one. I'm gonna have to ask my missus when she gets home and see what she says to that.
No worries. Compare yourself to an animal. What would it be and why?
We'll say a monkey, because I can be quite cheeky. I can have a bit of swagger. I can have a bit of a joke, a bit of a play around, and yeah, I'll go with a monkey.
Cool. Describe the purpose of Muay Thai to someone from another planet.
Muay Thai is a combat sport that you do to push yourself further, to improve your physical capabilities, and have fun and make friends.
Cool. Last question is, would you rather fight? I hope you're probably aware of UFC. Do you know Francis Ngannou?
Yeah, not personally, but yes.
Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized Francis Ngannou's or 110-foot tall-sized Francis Ngannou?
Oh, you'd have to go with the 10-foot. The which one was it? 110-foot?
110-foot or 100 duck-size?
110-foot, 100%. You know, like 100 duck size, yeah, not for me. They'll crush me. Whereas the 110-foot, you know, I'm not that far off 10-foot. I'm about 6'5", so we'll take my chances.
I'll have a stab. That's strange. Most people pick the small ones. They reckon they'll just boot them all, run around and boot them out of the way.
I mean, I wouldn't put a bet on me to beat the 10-foot in Ngannou, but I'll give it a crack. See what happens.
Why not? Sounds good, man. Okay, last thing, man, finished up the questions. Just want to know, like, what's the plans for 2022, 2023? What are you aiming at?
So obviously I return to one championship. Everyone knows I'm ready. I want it. Next weight division up. I'm a lot healthier and a lot more experienced now. That's one of the goals. Secondly, I've got a couple of fights booked in, which are pretty big. They are around Australia. I can't say too much yet, but one of them in particular, everyone wants to see it. Everyone's been asking for it. We'll give the fans what they want, as the saying goes.
Toby Smith.
It's not actually, but that's a good one. That's a good
guessing.
one. Yeah, we should get that one booked in again. You know, everyone enjoyed the first one. Toby will go away, have a few more fights. He's fighting again next month, so he's staying active. And yeah, we'll go again. Toby knows he's a good lad. He likes me. I like him. We have a lot of respect for each other, not just as people, but as fighters. That will happen again. Just a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, cool. All right, bro. Well, best of luck with your career and future, and you know, maybe get you or Darren on together one day in the future, have a chat or something. We'll see how we go. But yeah, thanks for your time, man. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks, man.
No, thanks for having me.